For today's video, I'm at Horizon Aquatics, an aquascaping specialist shop in the northeast of England. These guys have an excellent selection of Betta Fish, a full room dedicated to hardscape, a huge selection of aquatic plants, plenty of aquascape friendly fish and a beautiful aquascape gallery. I'm going to start with a build-in tour of their current setup as of September 2024, and then at the end of the video I'll switch to a review and share my experiences as I have been using these for over a year now. So as soon as we get through the main door, to the right there's this beautiful aquascape display in one of their more budget friendly AquaL setups that's great for beginners. This tank does have CO2 injection, but there's plenty of Echinodorus, Anubias and moss in here that would work without the CO2 if you are wanting to recreate something similar. So turning around we get to the main reception, and these guys are always busy, so if you need one of them for help you may have to walk off and find a member of staff, but everyone's really friendly and very helpful. As you can see, they stock a range of aquascaping merchandise, and I'm pretty sure there's stuff from George Farmer, Geordie Scaper, Rescapes and a couple of others in here. Moving along and we get to this shrimp tank, and although this is beautiful, Pongo the Betta Fish used to be kept here and I did fear the worst from him because he's such a cute little betta. Just sticking with this shrimp tank for now, and the detailing on this stone is absolutely amazing, and the background is filled out with what seems to be crushed red lava rock, so it shouldn't be too expensive to recreate something like this. I did consider something similar for one of my own shrimp tanks, but my setups are more on the breeding side of things, so I do think this scape would be wasted if it had 50 to 70 shrimp crawling all over it. So moving on to the reception desk, and they have this, and I'm not sure if this is a paludarium, a riparium or something else, but it looks amazing, and I actually thought this red plant was fake at first, and then James informed me that it is actually real. Down at the bottom they have some black eye orange tiger shrimp in here, and it's great to see that the popularity of shrimp is increasing and they're being featured in more and more tanks. Moving into the main corridor and taking a left we get to the ADA rack that contains a huge range of different ADA products. Now these are premium products and they definitely have the price point to match, but I personally just stick to the more budget friendly range that's in their dry goods room that I'll show later in the video. Now I haven't used any ADA kit myself, but I know they have an excellent reputation, and as far as I'm aware, Horizon Aquatics is one of the only few stores here in Europe that carry such a huge range of their products. There's a ton of different glassware kits for CO2 setups, there's tools of all shapes and sizes including some truly unique shaped scissors for aquascaping and trimming your plants, there's plenty of planting tweezers and brushes and pretty much everything you could ever need. One of my favourite things is this substrate sample, so you can get a good idea of the shape, size and hue of the ADA substrates before you buy them, but remember they will often darken up underwater, but this is still really helpful when you are choosing a substrate. There's also a bunch of other stuff to the right of the main display, including airline tubing, inline devices and thermometers and a couple of other things. Below that is some ADA liquid fertilizer products and a couple of other things, and I'm pretty sure that they carry the full range as standard. Now this is looking down towards the aquascaping gallery, but you get a good idea of the layout with all of the graphics and artwork on each side that offer plenty of inspiration. Visitors come here from all over the United Kingdom, and someone on TikTok recently asked, so I just want to quickly confirm that there is a customer toilet on site if you are driving a large distance to get here. So moving down the corridor and we get to the Hardscape Room, and the price list is above the Botanicals that I'm shown, but I didn't notice it until I was leaving at the end of the day. The range of Botanicals in here seems to increase every single time that I come, so if you are into your blackwater tank setups for softwater fish, your shrimp or betta tank setups and stuff like that, they definitely have you covered. My Neocaridina Shrimp love grazing on certain types of leaves, and it can be a pain to find them, so it is nice to see that Horizon have such a wide range of them in stock. Spinning around to show off the room, and you can see how much stuff they've managed to fit in here. Now prices of these do range widely, and I'll link to their website in the description so you can check the most recent prices when viewing the video in the future, but they've got every type of hardscape you could ever dream of. One of my friends isn't even in the hobby, but she keeps reptiles and spiders and stuff like that, and she orders specific rocks from here because she struggles to find them in other places in the UK. As you can see, there's plenty of spider wood, mangrove wood, bog wood and some corbo wood that I ended up purchasing for my 29-gallon tank. They didn't have any black lava rock in stock today, but I'm guessing they're expecting an order, but I often get people commenting on Stitch's Betta tank setup asking where I got the huge pieces of lava rock, and this is where I got them. These small boxes have Manzanita Wood and a couple of other different types of wood that I didn't recognise, so you can pull them out and see if there's anything that you like in there too. The substrate options start below those boxes, and there's bags of substrate everywhere in here, so it might be an idea to go off and find a member of staff if you are looking for something specific. So here's a closer view of some of the spiderwood options that they had available at the time when I was down there, but if you do come yourself, they do have a dojo to the left where you can test your scapes prior to purchasing them and have a little play around. I tend to keep things basic in my own tanks, and I usually stick with black lava rock or Sirius stone, and I've only recently purchased some dragon stone, but they've got a wide range of different rock options in here for your tanks. There's even more substrate options at the end of the rack, but from what I've seen other people say, they do sell out of ADA Amazonia quickly because it's just got such a high demand in the UK and not many places stock it. Anyway, you get the idea, so moving on we get to the nano room, designed for people keeping smaller nano tanks that are probably 45 litres and under. Betta fish are my second favourite fish in the hobby, so I often go on betta fish hunts when I'm in local aquatic stores, and I've never seen anything even close to the range in here when I'm looking at other shops. They usually do have a lot more betta fish than they had today, but even with these stocking options, they still blow everything else I've ever seen in the northeast of England out of the water with these. There's also a bunch of shrimp products at the end of this room too, but more on that later. I have no idea if these are terrariums or something else, but they do look pretty cool, but this really isn't my thing, but I know that they are increasing in popularity. There are some terrarium substrates at the bottom of this rack, but if you're into shrimp jars like myself, then some of these can work well in a shrimp jar because they're inert and they won't tweak your water parameters in such a small volume of water. I actually got really excited when I saw this betta fish tank because this is Pongo, the betta fish who used to be in the reception where the shrimp tank is, so he didn't die, they've just moved him into here. He is a beautiful betta fish and he's always on the move, and he's very active, and he has some type of tetra as a tank mate in here with him. Unfortunately though, this guy isn't for sale. I've asked before and my friend's little girl has asked many times because she absolutely loves him, but he's more of a pet or a mascot for the shop. He's kept in a low-tech Aqua shrimp set tank that I use for my own betta fish, and I buy them from Horizon. They are unfortunately currently out of stock with the tanks though, because I was looking to get a third one soon, so I'll have to keep my eyes open for a new one. So moving along, and we get to more terrarium stuff or whatever these are called, and like I said, this really isn't my thing, but I know that a lot of people are into them, so I just want to show them in the video. They've always got a wide selection of the Denali Shrimp King foods in here, but in my experience they can be hit and miss with shrimp, and my shrimp definitely seem to prefer the glass carton products over these for some reason. Moving along, we get to this, and it is some type of botanical blackwater setup, and I think it looks really cool. I'm not sure if this is shrimp safe, but I am thinking of rescaping a lot of my shrimp tanks in the future, so I wouldn't mind trying something like this if it is safe for shrimp. So moving on to the betta fish options, and I'm intentionally going through these as quickly as possible because I was in the market for some gold white cloud mountain minnows, but I knew that if I stayed too long in the betta fish room I'd end up going home with a betta fish as well. Prices will increase with time and inflation, but I think currently the betta fish start around £25 and then increase from there depending on the colour, rarity, fin shape and tail type. Plenty of bettas off Instagram works here, and she's a betta fish expert, so I am confident that these fish are healthy and taken care of. There's plenty of bettas here, and they were a close second for my next tank setup, but Jordyscaper's recent video pushed me more towards the gold white cloud mountain minnows. I'm not sure what these fish are, but I love fish with blue eyes for some reason, and it really pops, and these guys look really cute. Ruby tetras can be a pain to find here in the UK, so it's nice to see that Horizon have them in stock, but I'm not 100% sure if this is a regular fish that they can always have access to. Here's some strawberry rasboras. I don't think that these guys colour up as well as chili rasboras, but I do get the different nano rasboras mixed up with each other, so you'll have to do your own research. This little guy was spying at me from behind his coconut hide, and that's one thing that you'll notice. All of the betta fish in here have some type of plant and hiding spot in their tank so they can get away from the lights if they want. I'm not sure what this is called, but it's a similar effect to one of Tiff's Fish's bettas on Instagram with the rings around its eye. I'm pretty sure that this little guy was about to have a go and try and fight me, so I moved on to avoid stressing him. Unfortunately, they didn't have many shrimp in stock compared to my previous visits, but Nicole, the co-owner, was telling me that it's a pain to find reliable high-grade shrimp suppliers right now. Moving down, and there's a bunch of rasboras that are small enough to keep in nano tanks if you are into the smaller aquarium setups. Horizon also have a bunch of celestial pearl danios as well, and it's been absolutely months since I've seen any of these in my local area, and then I see 2 different stores with them in as many weeks. Here's some least rasboras, and again these are one that are similar to chili rasboras, but I always get those ones mixed up with each other. Getting into the Caridina Shrimp, and I haven't kept any of the fancy Caridina myself yet, but I wouldn't mind giving them a try next year, but I would need an RO unit to keep them safely because of my tap water. Again, as I mentioned, one of the co-owners was saying they are struggling to find high grade shrimp, so a lot of these shrimp tanks are just empty because they can't find the stock. They do have a sizable colony of tangerine tigers though, and I have been considering these myself because apparently they are easier than the fancy Caridina species, and they are only a little bit more difficult than Neos. Horizon also had some Thai micro crabs, and I don't think I've ever seen these guys anywhere else in the UK, but I've seen them twice in here. Here's some Kubutai rasboras, and these guys are so cool as they've got an luminous neon glow to them, but it could be a problem in a planted tank as they just blend in with your plants, but they're definitely a unique fish. It wouldn't be an aquascaping shop without Otto sinklets, and there's a bunch of them in 2 tanks here, so if you are looking for some Ottos to help deal with the algae in your tank, Horizon have you covered. Then I got back to the Neocaridina Shrimp tanks, and most were empty due to stocking issues, so I just skipped onto the bettas. This little guy's like Cooley, one of my betta fish, not only in his colour and his pattern, but the way he just finds random things in his tank that fascinate him and he just likes to watch them. Here's another similar betta fish just chilling at the back of his tank. Horizon always seem to have plenty of Amano Shrimp in stock whenever I'm there, so if you are after some algae eating shrimp you can get them here. They also had some Malaysian betta fish, and these aren't really my thing because I prefer splendid complex bettas, but they are increasing in popularity and it is good to see them in stock. Being an aquascaping specialist, they have an absolute ton of horned neurite snails in here, and these are my preferred snail of choice as well, but if you are after some algae eaters then you can get these here. Here's a little yellow copper betta that also seemed to want to fight me, so again I moved on to avoid stressing them. This little guy seems a lot friendlier, but I do think it was close to feeding time, so he might have been expecting food from me. I'm not 100% what tank size these bettas are kept in, but it's definitely larger than what pets at home keep their bettas in. Each tank also has its own Hamburg matting filter as well, rather than being connected to a single sump, so if there is any problems with illness and infection it should just be contained to one tank rather than spreading in like it could in some other shops. Another point to note is that Horizon only stock male bettas due to people keeping sororities and constantly having issues too. Anyway, moving on, and I wanted to show some of the artwork in the corridor, but the focus on my phone started to play up for some reason. There's plenty of beautiful tanks in these photographs that you can use for inspiration as you walk around the store though. So getting into the dry goods room, and they have everything you could ever need in here, and don't worry, the focus on the camera gets back to normal soon. These are the tools that I'm slowly switching my own set over to, and I already have the Hugo Komishi shears, and they are far cheaper than the ADA range, but they've performed very well for me. If you are on a budget but want decent quality tools, then I would recommend this Hugo Komishi set, as it's what I'm trying to get over the coming months. They do have some ADA tanks for sale in the corner, but as you'd probably expect, everything with ADA on it is very expensive. Being an aquascaping store, they also lean in on the Oase filter range, and they have all the spare parts, the inlines and all of the replacement foams for the Biomaster range in stock. They do stock the Filter Smart range, but definitely do thorough research if you are looking to take that path, because I've seen mixed feedback on the Filter Smart range, whereas the Biomaster range from Oase always seems to get consistently good feedback from a wide range of people. They have these Oase hang-on back filters as well, but in all honesty I didn't even know these were a thing until I saw them here. Moving on a little, and we get to some glassware for CO2 kits and stuff like that, and then there's even more ADA products to meet every demand you could ever have in your aquascape. They also have a couple of Aqua L filters, but most importantly they have Chihiros lights in stock, which can be a pain to find in the United Kingdom. There's also plenty of other attachments and CO2 stuff if you are taking the injected CO2 approach for your aquarium, but I really don't know anything about the CO2 side of the hobby. Horizon also stock the 2-hour Aquarist range as well, and I'm pretty sure this is the only place I've ever seen stock them in my area. There's an absolute ton of different Seachem products in here that can do pretty much everything you could imagine. But most importantly, they have the tidal hang-on back filters, and I've not tried these myself, but some of my friends have started switching over and they seem to really like them. To my knowledge, they're just designed by Seachem, and they're actually made by CK in Italy, who have an excellent reputation for their own filter range without the Seachem brand in any way. The NT Labs range of products do seem to be smaller than usual, so I'm not sure if they're expecting a delivery or something like that, but I pick plenty of these up, and if you are familiar with my channel, you'll know I feed these to my fish and shrimp on a regular basis. This Mosscaper glue is far easier to use than Gorilla Glue and some of the other products that I've tried in the hobby as well, and I pretty much exclusively use this in my own tanks now. So moving down the corridor, and we get to their Terrarium plant range, and I didn't even know they sold these, to be honest, so the terrarium side of things must be increasing in popularity, but they do have a nice range of plants. They used to have an all red low-tech aquascape here that I absolutely loved, but they have replaced it with this setup, and it still looks really cool, especially with the mist system running, and I think it's some kind of Talawa wood here, and it's surprisingly cheap for how impactful this wood is. This scape's set up by A.D. Myers, and it contains different types of shrimp and some small red rasboris species. So moving into the main gallery, and I will get plenty of shots of the display tanks later, but I want to work my way around from the left. These tanks are absolutely beautiful, but try not to compare them to your own tanks if you have issues with algae or anything like that, because they do have full-time maintenance staff to care for the tanks and make sure they look perfect when you are here. As you can see, there's a huge range of tissue culture plants here, and they have the standard Tropica range as well as a few unique things that I haven't seen anywhere else. Just in case you don't know, these tissue culture pots are grown in a lab, so they come with a guarantee that they're free from snail eggs, pests and pesticides, so a lot of people do like them. In my experience, you also get far more plant matter in these little tissue culture cups as well, where you might get 4 to 6 Anubias nana in one cup, but if you buy the actual fully grown out version, you might only get 1 or 2. One of my favourite things about these pots is how healthy the plants actually are, as I was recently sent a pot of dead plants from a competitor when Horizon were out of stock on something I needed, and it was obviously dead as well. It wasn't even borderline, and they still shipped it to me. James, one of the co-owners of Horizon, was telling me that they use a 2-check system where one member of staff will do all of the order fulfillment and pick the plants off the shelf, and then another member of staff does the shipping, and they'll recheck the plants to make sure that they're healthy before they get shipped to you. I've ordered a ton of plants from these guys both in store and online, and I don't ever remember getting low quality plants from them. I'm really impressed with these Stoffel cups as they offer a lot of plants that other brands don't seem to include yet, and they also seem to have more plant matter in them when compared to other brands' tissue culture cups. But my favourite thing about the Stoffel range is the unique plants that they sell that other brands don't, such as Bucephalandra Brownie Ghost. Now this isn't the 2011 variant, it is just the regular Brownie Ghost, but it's still a beautiful plant, and they also have the purple variant of it too, so I can't wait to get some of these for my tanks when the next set's ready. As you can see though, the Stoffel's range also includes the more common plants that you'd expect from this kind of brand, and they're all healthy and ready to plant and look amazing. So moving around a little further and we get to the rest of the fish, and I'm not sure what Horizon's official differentiation is, but I'd guess that the fish in the Nano Tank room are designed to work in tanks that are 25 to 40 litres in size, while these guys are 45 litres and over. Now keep in mind these guys are aquascaping specialists, so they don't stock fish that will eat the plants and destroy your aquascape, but they're still trying to maximise the amount of different colour options that they have with the different fish. They've actually got a bunch of different fish that I've never even heard of, never mind seen before in my local area, so there's plenty to choose from if you come down looking for a unique fish. I know that I'm brushing over these fish, but I do have some close-ups for B-roll of my favourite fish from this rack, but there's plenty of different options in here. Moving on to their auto mister, and they must be expecting a delivery of plants because this is definitely the lightest stocking I've ever seen in here. It's usually jam-packed with plants. As you can see, these plants are all healthy and ready to go, and this racking unit that they're kept in has an automatic mister built into it, so it'll maintain the humidity on a set timer, so it's not like you're going to receive dried out dying plants from them. I know some people have issues with immersed grown Java Fern melting on them, but as you can see, Horizon Aquatics keep their Java Ferns submerged, so with any luck, any potential melt issues due to being submerged will start showing and they can avoid shipping it to you. I've ordered lots of Anubias from them over the last 6 weeks or so, and I can confirm that it all came in a similar condition to what you're seeing in this rack, so it's not like this is for in-store purchases only or just a display or anything like that. As always, do your own research before ordering plants though, because some of these will need highlighting or CO2 injection, and it's not Horizon's job to make sure your tank can support the plant you order. Moving on to my initial walk around of the aquascaping gallery, but I will have close-ups of B-roll later in the video, and this one is a new tank from Plenty of Bettas, and I link to the Horizon YouTube channel in the description where there's a full build video on their channel. This Dragonwood scape was done by Nicole, the co-owner, and apparently it got mixed feedback when they posted it online, but I personally think it looks amazing and I love the look of Dragonwood. This next scape was done by Adi Myers and it's beautiful. Keep in mind though, I do record these on my smartphone, so the colour science tech on my camera really doesn't do this scape justice. It looks amazing. This one is by James, the co-owner, and I think it has been changed slightly since the last time I was down, but it's still my second favourite scape in here. It looks amazing. This one is a new scape by Nicole, the co-owner, and it features gold white clouds, and the colour difference between these white clouds and the ones in Pets at Home is night and day, and I picked some up while I was down there. Here's a scape by both of the owners of Horizon Aquatics, and this is a little tweak on the old version of this setup that they had on the other side of the room, but this is my favourite tank in here, and the best part is it's low tech and doesn't require CO2. I absolutely love this setup. This next scape is by Josh Sim, a professional aquascaper and a grand prize winner in the IAPLC, and they have a full build video on their YouTube channel linked below. This one is by Luis Navarro, and I'm not sure if he's sponsored by Seachem or works for them directly, but he's done a bunch of aquascaping workshops. Here's one from Geordie Scaper, and I'm sure he's proud that he stocked it with black and white Caridina Shrimp to show his support for Newcastle Football Club. This one's by Rescapes from Instagram and YouTube, who now works at Horizon Aquatics, and this is probably my third favourite tank in here. I just love this kind of setup, and it has my favourite fish, a honey gourami. Finally, we have this one by MJ Aquascapes, one of the bigger aquascaping channels on YouTube, and I think there's also a video for this set up on their YouTube channel as well. So here's some B-roll I recorded while I talk about my pros and cons of Horizon Aquatics that I recorded while I was down there. So the first pro is that the staff are all friendly, helpful and very knowledgeable, with the owners, Bob and Rachel all having scapes in the gallery showing what they can do. The next pro is that Horizon Aquatics has the best Betta Fish selection that I've seen, and as I mentioned earlier, even with this lower stocking level today, they still beat the other local shops that I've seen. This next one is up in the air right now, but every other time I've been, they've had an excellent selection of shrimp, so with any luck they'll get a new supplier soon and they'll be able to restock the shrimp tanks. The next pro is that the fish in here look so much better than the same species in chain stores like Pets at Home, and the price tag is only slightly higher, and that's why I got my gold white cloud mountain minnows here. They just look amazing compared to the competition. The next pro is that these guys stock some really rare fish that I don't remember ever seeing, and like I mentioned earlier, they've got fish that I've never even heard of, so if you are looking for something that grabs attention and stands out for your aquascape, then this is definitely the place to come. Next up is the Hardscape Room, and it has literally everything you could ever imagine for your hardscape, for your aquascape, and I'm pretty sure it's resupplied on a regular basis, but I'll touch on that one more later. Another pro is that there's plenty of sources of inspiration around here, be it the actual tanks in the display gallery or the artwork on the walls, or even just some hardscape that you see and you think up an idea that you could use in your tank. A major pro for me is that the plants are healthy even if you order online, as I've received dead plants from competitors that charge very similar prices to Horizon. The final pro is that Horizon Aquatics seem to get rare plants before other stores in the UK. For example, they had Bacopa salzmani months ago, and I recently got an email from a competitor saying they get it in stock soon. Like I mentioned earlier, they have Bucephalandra Brownie Ghost in stock right now, and you can go to competing aquascape shops and check their stocking right now, and they don't have it in. It's not even listed on their website. So moving on to the cons of Horizon, and they definitely have a higher price tag for a lot of their plants, with stems, crypts and sword plants usually being the same as the competition, but epiphytes are usually £1 or £2 higher, and the moss tubs are usually £3 higher. I can see why this could be an issue if you're on a budget, but personally I don't have an issue paying a little bit more provided the plants are of this quality and they're healthy when they're delivered. One of the main disadvantages for me personally, as well as my friend group, is the lack of low-tech tanks on display. I understand that they are a business and CO2 systems will be a great source of revenue, but everybody I know in the hobby is on the low-tech side of things. Still, the low-tech epiphyte tank is absolutely beautiful. Like I said, it's my favourite tank in the gallery and it does a great job of showing off what you can do without CO2. The next con is that I found it difficult to work out what types of wood were what in the Hardscape Room, and some of them are labelled up with little cards stapled onto them, but I couldn't see any labels on the bins that were in the middle of the Hardscape Room. Now keep in mind, I'm 6'4" or 194 centimeters, so I am very tall, and I was also very hungover when I was down there, so they might have labels lower down on the little bins that the wood are in, but I couldn't see any. The selection of rocks there are all very clearly labelled, so you can glance and you know exactly what you're getting, and it would be nice to have something similar for the wood. One of the most common complaints that I hear from my friend group who are in the hobby is that Horizon don't photograph and list, or what you see is what you get hardscape selection on their website. This means that you're essentially ordering blind, as you choose the type of wood you want and its rough size, and then you're just hoping for the best. I can see this one from both sides though, because earlier this year I was down at Horizon Aquatics 3 times in the space of around 6 weeks, and the hardscape changed almost every time I was there, so they have a huge turnover in here. So yeah, I get it, if you're a customer this can be frustrating, but from the business point of view, if their hardscape's selling so quickly anyway without taking the photographs and putting them online, why put time and effort into it that can be put into other stuff? This next one comes down to ethics and principles, but Horizon Aquatics don't ship fish, and as much as I wish they would ship fish because I live about an hour away, I do see the reasons why they don't, and it is their choice at the end of the day. This next one is definitely a negative if you're on a budget, but this place is like a Las Vegas casino and it makes you want to spend a lot more than you initially wanted. Now I want to be clear here because the staff aren't pushy with sales and I don't ever remember being upsold anything at all, but it's just the layout of the place and the way you walk around it, it just makes me want to buy more stuff than I planned every single time I'm in there. Initially, I did think this next one was a negative, but I have come around to Horizon's way of thinking, and that's the fact that they don't stock any live bearers at all, and I know that guppies are one of the most popular fish in the hobby, but it's just not worth it if you have soft water. My regular viewers may know that I recently gave up my remaining guppies and I gave them to my friend's daughter because it just kept dying on me, and it's the only species of fish I always have issues with, and I honestly think my soft tap water does play a role in it, and Horizon Aquatics have even softer tap water than me. So just to offer a quick conclusion, and in my opinion, Horizon Aquatics is a great place to visit, and it's clean, it's friendly, the staff are very knowledgeable and helpful. They stock pretty much everything you could ever want, be it plants, hardscape or fish. Even the dry goods room has some stuff I've never seen anywhere else. Like I mentioned, they've got more Betta Fish on a wide range of colours, tail shapes and fin shapes than I've seen anywhere else as well, and like I mentioned, bettas are my second favourite fish, so I do pay a lot of attention to what local shops are selling, and this guy's beats everyone. Anyway guys, that brings the video to an end. Hopefully it was helpful. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a good day, and I honestly would recommend you check out Horizon Aquatics. Like I said, I've been using them over a year and it's somewhere where I just keep coming back to time and time and time again.